Ooh, yeah, man. I want to get really jazzed about the NFL draft, but unfortunately, I always have to like work in a sports bar, which at least is a sports bar. Like every draft, like Thursday, for the past like couple of years, which I guess is like kind of by choice, just what day of the week I work. And I'm gonna be such a terrible like server bartender tomorrow. At the time of recording this tomorrow, I'm gonna be so terrible. Like if I don't make any money tomorrow, I understand, and I don't blame anybody because I'm gonna be watching the draft the whole time. I'm gonna be freaking out, and I'm gonna have it like in the back room blasted up so I can listen to it. But I'm gonna get a lot of steps in tomorrow. But welcome on into Second and Short, and it is draft week officially. I am Tyler Lauder, your host here, joined with Jason Teasley, who is our dynasty fantasy expert. We're going to kind of dip our toes into the NFL draft as well as some dynasty world stuff, talking about 5 draft day questions that we have, and we're going to give you our opinions and answers on these. So we have a very short episode. If you're following along on YouTube right now, hit that subscribe button down below, help us out. Leave a like and comment down below your answers to all of our questions we post here today. If you're listening everywhere else, Speaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever, like, follow us, keep going. And then also we're part of the W2M network. You can check us out there. Jason does some other podcast stuff. You can find him there. I do some other podcast stuff. You can see in my bio there as well. With all that being said, let's just kind of jump right into this draft, and you're going to lead us off. And we're going to do dynasty question first, because I've been talking a lot. Okay. So if blank happens in the NFL draft, then blank is going to happen in the dynasty world. What do you believe will be a direct result based on what happens on day 1, 2, or 3 here in the NFL draft?
I really feel that if the Jets go the route of what everybody's predicting, going receiver, mm-hmm. I'm gonna honestly think that Wilson's going to possibly push for that 1-1 in the dynasty draft.
Garrett Wilson, you're saying? Garrett Wilson, yeah, if he lands with the Jets.
Yeah, I think that if he lands with the Jets, I think he could push for the 1-1 rookie pick. I think he could overtake Bryce Hall, and I know that's a little bit of a bold statement, mm-hmm. but I see that as a good possibility because he has all the dynamics, all the athleticism to be a star in the NFL, and he has a young quarterback to grow with.
Yeah, that Wilson to Wilson connection. Now, let me piggyback on what you're kind of saying here before I give mine. And that is, if Garrett Wilson goes to the Jets, then Corey Davis's days as a wide receiver 3, I think are kind of numbered. I think he's going to get pushed down the depth chart even more. I think it's going to be Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore and Braxton Berrios, and then Corey Davis we're going to see. I don't disagree with your comment saying that he could shoot up for 1-1. Considering now pre-draft ADP, he's sitting around 3 anyways in single quarterbacks, and in Superflex, he's sitting around 4 because only Malik Willis pushed him down a little bit. That's very, very doable, especially if somebody like Breece Hall lands in an unfavorable system, gets drafted by the Jags for some reason, or like the Giants and is behind Barkley. Something like that could push Breece Hall down, or Kenneth Walker as well, depending on who you like the most. Especially if you're not in Superflex, if you're not a fan of the quarterback position. For me, like I think the big thing here is that if Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, if they get drafted where I think they're going to get drafted, places like Buffalo, Houston, or like Atlanta, or like Philly, then whoever they go there, running backs such as Miles Sanders, done. Cordell Patterson, done. We're going to talk about Devin Singletary, done. Or David Johnson, done. Even though some of those guys, like I listed, are kind of already done, I think those 2 guys landing in any of those 4 spots are going to spell the end of potential RB1, RB2 talks for any of those running backs, regardless of age or position on the team. I think Walker and Hall is like can really impact some of these vets that not that they're going to lose their jobs. Like Cordell Patterson will become a slot receiver and a number 2 running back. Like he won't get the bulk of carries type thing.
Right. Yeah, and and we talk about this because landing spot is key. It's crucial because the wrong landing spot can take the talent and push them down draft boards.
All right, number 2. Question number 2 here. Give me a trade that you want to see happen in the draft. Doesn't matter if it picks players, whatever. Like, what's something like you really want to see? Doesn't matter what day it is.
I honestly want to see Pittsburgh trade up and get Pickett. I think that is the logical trade that Pittsburgh needs to make. And I think there's a lot of teams that they're going to have to leapfrog in order to land him.
And it might not even be Pickett. I think Desmond Ridder is another person they're really connected to, but I do think that they have to make a move. I do agree with that. Whether it's you move into the top 10 to get Pickett, like you say, or like Willis, or you move back up like we did in our mock draft last week. You can check that video out as well, where we had them taking Desmond Ridder at the back end of the first. I agree. If they want a quarterback, I don't think like they're in a really bad spot because like New Orleans is right ahead of them. Teams like Washington and Minnesota are right ahead of them, even though like I don't think Minnesota's going to take a quarterback, but you never know. And there's a lot of teams in the top 10 that could take quarterback as well. That'd be awesome to pretty see. For me, I'm going to say quarterback. I really want Carolina to trade for Baker Mayfield. I want them to send like a day 3 pick, whether it's this year or next year, and snag Baker Mayfield. And even though a lot of people out there will be like, well, Baker Mayfield's not that good, even though like 2 years ago, we're all like, oh my God, what a great season he just had. He just led the Browns to the playoffs. They got a playoff win. This guy's fantastic. And then he plays where he's like 50% all year, and they're like a game away or 2 games away from the playoffs again. And now everybody hates him. I think he improves Carolina's quarterback over Sam Darnold. I saw an article this morning. Carolina's got the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. I don't disagree with that. I don't argue with that. But I think a late move like that would just be fantastic for them, because then at 6, they could take an offensive lineman, or they can trade down, get an offensive lineman, get an edge rusher, linebacker in the second round. Like there's lots of different things they can do. Now, staying on this same question, kind of modify it. Let's switch that graphic right there. What is a pick that you really want to see? Like you want to see player A go to team A. Like you want to see it, whether or not it's feasible. What do you want to see?
I'm honest. You alluded to it before, and I think now it would totally kill me in a couple of dynasties. I really want to see Walker end up in Buffalo somehow. I think his running style mixed with that offense, I think is the perfect scheme, the perfect balance of his talent as a runner and receiver to overshadow Singletary and Moss, who both I was high on last year.
Same.
But I think that him going to Buffalo is an ideal fit that would propel him to not only real life stardom, but also a legit fantasy star.
Now, this is, for me, a pick I want to see. It's more so a pick I kind of don't want to see. I want to see the Green Bay Packers avoid a receiver in the first round. I think that would just be hilarious. I think fans would go crazy, even though this wide receiver class is like 10, 12 deep. And in the second round, they could snag 2 quality receivers to pair with wide receiver 1, Sammy Watkins. And they could address some big needs on defense. And I think that would, personally, I think that'd be a big positive for them. And I think that'd be hilarious to kind of see. It'd be like the same way, like if the Jets pass on receiver in the first round, like they really could, that'd be good, but Jets fans would go crazy about it. And that's like a pick that I don't want to see, or just because I know they'd hate it. I want to see Christian Watson go in the first round. Like I'd really love to see Christian Watson go in the first round, North Dakota State University. And I'd like to see Pierre Strong, running back out of South Dakota State University. I'd like to see him go in like round 3 or 4. I think that'd be a really awesome thing to see just for where I'm at locally. Now, instead of something you want to see, maybe you don't want to see this, but it's just kind of like a guarantee. It's a lock. Give me your draft lock, day 1, 2, or 3, whatever. What do you know is going to happen? This player is going here, or this position is going here more so, to kind of save you on that prediction.
My lock. Oh wow.
Or it could just be like a team. A team is gonna pick this.
I mean, I could go with the easy. I think the lock for me is going to see the Seattle Seahawks take a running back that can be an impact player. They have a lot of journeymen. Chris Carson's got the neck injuries. I think that team needs to address a running back situation that is like a hodgepodge currently.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we won't see it in the first round. Second round, no. Potentially, but they have a lot of needs. With their in the third round, I could really see them, taking like White at running back or Robinson potentially. I could really see them going running back in maybe Pierce. Probably in like the third round. I think that's I agree with that. I think that's pretty solid lock. And I like how that's kind of out of left field because I feel like a lot of people would expect you to be like edge rusher is going to be taken number 1. Like, yeah, okay, cool. We know that. Like a quarterback is going to go top 10. Another thing that I think is a draft lock, and people aren't really talking about this, is that I think all 5 quarterbacks, the big 5, I'll even include Carson Strong, will be selected in the top 50 picks. I think the big 5, probably Carson Strong as well, will all go top 50. I think it's a guaranteed thing. I know a lot of people don't like, especially with how much people don't like this quarterback class. Like I'm projecting 6 quarterbacks in the top 50. You need a quarterback. If you don't have a good quarterback, you might as well draft a quarterback. A lot of teams could be moving on. They could prepare. And I think it's really going to set a roller coaster for next year, especially if teams like Atlanta, Pittsburgh decide to go quarterback, that route. I think it could be very interesting. Detroit goes quarterback. I think so many teams could go quarterback. Why not? Giants, we were talking about them. They could go quarterback. Yeah. Why not? Like, as of time of recording this, they have not declared Daniel Jones' 5th-year option, as you said. So they could go Malik Willis at 5, and I'd be like, yeah, okay. I mean, I get it. They're just getting ready. That is my draft lock, that we're going to see all 5 quarterbacks, and it's like a bonus lock that Carson Strong they're all going to get drafted in the top 50. That's me right there. And that Carson Strong is like, I'm adding it in. Like Carson Strong would probably get drafted like 50 to 64. But I think the big 5 are going to get drafted in the top 50. So every 10 picks, we're going to see a quarterback, I believe, within that range.
That's bold.
Yeah, it's kind of bold, but I just think it's going to happen. I think there's so much smokescreen of like, oh, this quarterback class is bad. Oh, it's just not elite. We just don't have Trevor Lawrence. Like we've been gifted of like Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, back-to-back years. We just got to be calm with a regular class. Like that happens.
Yeah, and it's not, and that's what I like about this class too, is because me and you've done some deep dives in this, and we've talked about, everybody's talked about this class being down, but once you do a little research and quit like listening to the talking heads, you do a little research, you look at the numbers. This quarterback class, they're not elite. I don't think there's an elite quarterback in this class, but they're very good.
Yeah, I think so too. And the big thing too about these quarterbacks is that a lot of them have a lot of rushing upside as well, showing the evolution of the league. And we're seeing it right now that the NFL is adapting from college and it's translating to the NFL now back to them. Our number 4, let's go back to Dynasty. It's going to be a 2-parter. So what player, based on like current ADPs that we're seeing, and I'll kind of pull up ADPs as well for you, so we have that. But based on ADPs, who do you think has the most to lose based on where their landing spot will be? Like a player A is drafted to team A, they're going to fall down your draft board and your draft rankings, even though we here on Second and Short in the cheap seats believe you should draft talent over like where they go, landing spot. But that does have some influence on flipping player, from spot 5 to spot 8, especially with these receivers.
I'm going to say Drake London. If he gets drafted as a player,
give me a team where he would go that you'd probably be like,
I think if he lands somewhere like a Houston, that is in influx. They've got a lot of other key positions. I think if they reach for a player here and they take him, his ADP's been all over the place here lately. I think if he lands in Houston, I think if he lands somewhere like San Francisco, I think if he lands somewhere, I'm going to say even if he lands with the Saints, I think that he would need a solid place to land. Ideally, Indianapolis. I think that would be a good.
I think the Jets are probably a decent spot for him as well.
Yeah, well, if the Jets don't go, Garrett Wilson, but I'm saying you want that team that he's going to be able to show his talent, not flounder with quarterback questions.
Yeah, and I think that's a situation where because somebody like Drake London is who we're talking about here. I think he's a lock to be a first round pick in all rookie draft formats. Doesn't matter how you format it, super flex, tight end premium, 2 QB, PPR, no PPR, 10-point touchdowns. Well, actually touchdowns, he'd probably go higher. But I think right now where I'm looking at is that right now I have him sitting around ADP, and this is single quarterback. I have him sitting around 5 to 6. That's where I have him. I'm going to take him as my third receiver. If you take Burks over him, I'm okay with that right now. I could easily see that happening. If I actually pull up a draft for you that I already did because I'm a lunatic, and I drafted pre NFL draft. But he went pick 107 is where he went, and he was the fifth receiver off the board because Olave, Williams, Burks, and Wilson all went ahead of him, and then both running backs went ahead of him. So I think right now, if he lands in a bad spot, especially considering the fact that he only played in 8 games last year, people are saying that he's scheme dependent, is that he's more of a red zone threat. We don't know if his production is going to translate to the NFL, even though that production is fantastic. He could take a tumble towards the back end of the first round, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. A guy that I think really could fall down, I'm looking at running backs. I'm looking at somebody like Isaiah Spiller, who right now is kind of slotted in as that running back 3. 2 for some people, shouldn't be. For me, he's my running back 4, but he's in that mix range. And because of that, he's getting drafted right now pre-NFL draft towards the middle of the first round, anywhere from pick 5 to pick 8. And personally, I think I don't think he's going to get drafted until the 3rd round in the NFL. And I think the fact that I think since he's going to lack NFL draft capital, I only think 2 running backs go in the first 2 rounds. And if a third one sneaks in there, I think it'll be Rashad White. So I think he's going to fall into 3rd round pick territory, maybe late 3rd, early 4th. He's going to be one of those guys that when we're looking at the draft board, when you're watching the draft and it goes best available, he's going to be up there for quite some time, I think. I could be wrong, but I just think the lack of speed does matter to some people, and I think they're going to look at that. And I just think that if he ends up getting drafted in the middle to late of 3rd, let's say he goes to the Ravens, they drafted pick 76 in the 3rd. If he goes to the Ravens in 3rd round right there, I'm going to have him tumbling to the 2nd round of my draft board because I already have him sitting around 9. So I'll drop him 3 to 4 spots to, going pick 112 to 22 in 12-team formats. If he lands on somewhere like the Baltimore Ravens in the 3rd round, which I kind of think is very likely. I don't think he's the type of guy that it really based on he'd have to land in Houston. But even then, I don't know if I'd really love him. But let's talk about somebody you do love. Who is a player you think is going to have the most to gain this draft? Moving up in ADP. Let's go the opposite road. They're going to land on Team A, and it's going to be, holy cow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire type situation where we're going to go hallelujah, and we're going to move them up 7, 8 spots dramatically.
I think it's going to be Willis. I think that his landing spot is he's projected to go like 5 teams. Mm-hmm. I think if he lands with a team
like Pittsburgh,
that is, I'm getting there.
Sorry,
that has a built-in wide receiver, mm-hmm. running back,
tight end,
and all young. There is no age in Pittsburgh. If he lands with Pittsburgh, that will ascend Pittsburgh back into conversations for that conference championship.
And I think what that'll do is he's getting drafted in Superflex leagues. He's getting talked at as like a top 4 pick. Some people, I've heard them say that he should be nowhere near the top 4, even in Superflex. In single quarterback, he's at the back end of the first. We're looking at picks 10, 11, 12. But I do think that he could in single quarterbacks if he lands in Pittsburgh, I think it moves him up to in that area. Like I would take him after Hall, Walker, Wilson, Williams, and then I'm sitting there at 5 and I'd be like, do I want Willis with Pittsburgh for the next 15 years? I could see that argument. For me, I'd probably draft him at like 8. So it still moves him up my board. I would love that. I think he would gain a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, I've got him right now sitting at 11. If he goes to Pittsburgh, I could easily move him up 3 spots.
Yeah, I think so too. Somebody that I think, so let's say, because we're not big McCall Hardman fans here. Like it's not a guy that we love. Even though I'm trying to sell him like crazy in all my leagues that I have him before this draft, and nobody's biting on anything. But let's do the obvious one. Well, let's fall for the Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing again. The player with the most to gain is whoever Cincinnati or Kansas City drafts at pick 29 or 30, the receiver. Now, I don't think every player can, but I think let's just pick George Pickens. If George Pickens gets drafted by Kansas City, I think he's going to move from a late first, early second round dynasty pick in rookie drafts to pick 7. I think he would move up 5, 6 spots, and you could potentially be arguing him over Burks or London or Watson or Dotson. You could. And I think Pickens has the most to gain, especially considering the fact that he's been sitting around this like second round to like mid second round pick is where his range is. If he sneaks into the first round and goes to Kansas City, I love his skill set. I think he pairs well with Juju Schuster. I think he immediately eliminates McCall Hardman, and I think he's a guy that could have an impact from day one. Another guy I really like is Jahan Dotson. I think if he goes to Kansas City, I really like him as well. Not every receiver I would love in Kansas City, but those two, I would. And I think it would move them up to pick 7, 8 for me. And right now I have them at the back end of the first, early second.
So who's a receiver you would not like in Kansas City? You opened that can of worms.
I don't know if I'm a big fan of like Christian Watson, because like we're just gonna kind of sit here and say like, oh, he's gonna replace Tyreek Hill, and just be that guy. But I don't think that he's a guy that's gonna have an immediate impact in the NFL. And I think that he would get drafted higher. And he's a guy that I want Christian Watson. If I'm drafting Christian Watson in all rookie drafts, I want him at 112 or 2-1. That's where I want him. That's where I got him in a league. That's where I want him. I don't want to have to take him in the middle of the first when these other guys that have better profiles and have I think it just profile better in more offenses that I can kind of be trustworthy. I don't want to have that conversation. Like I don't want to draft Christian Watson a spot or 2 spots below I draft Jameson Williams. Like I don't think that tier makes sense to me. So I don't want him going there. I'm not a big David Bell fan. I don't know what it is. Like I don't hate David Bell, but I'm just not like in love with David Bell. And I've seen him go in like first rounds of some drafts, and I don't see it. I'm okay to be wrong on that one. And I love Christian Watson as well. But I'm just saying those are guys that if they go to Kansas City, I'm just kind of like, okay. I'm not really moving them up, but like, because I think they need like another year, really.
I'm going to tell you, this may come out of left field and surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Chris Olave in Kansas City.
I don't think he's even going to make it there, to be honest. I think he's pushing for a top 12, 13 pick, I think. And I don't think he makes it past New Orleans.
You don't?
Yeah.
I don't know. I see that he's one of those players. You know, we talked about this in our mock draft. Those 2 to 6, 3 to 6, 3 to 7 wide receivers are interchangeable.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that maybe just, you know, a team's preference taking, you know, seeing a wide receiver to fit there. I think he's one of these players that he needs to go to a team where he can be featured, not a team where he can be a complimentary wide receiver.
That's fair. If I can give, we're gonna give another bonus one before this next year. If wide receiver out of, I think it's Boise State, Khalil Shakir, if he gets drafted by Green Bay on day 2, like if we have him in the second round there, I think he's going to be a first round pick in rookie drafts. And I think he will skyrocket up the boards. He's a guy that I really love in rookie drafts right now. I've taken him where did I get him? I got him like 311 in one league. He got drafted around like 3.8, 3.9 in some leagues. I think, and those are IDP leagues as well, by the way. So that we're talking like mid to late second round in regular. I think he could shoot up the boards and get drafted in that 112, 2-1 range if he goes to Green Bay, which I would love him in Green Bay. I think he's underrated and not getting talked about enough. Now, let's stay in. Let's do both NFL and Dynasty. Last question. Let's blend these together. Okay. What is a move that if it happens, you're going to win big in your Dynasty leagues? AKA, you have the 1.1, so you want Breece Hall landing here. Or AKA, you have Zach Wilson, so you want them to draft wide receiver. Like, what move is going to help you as a consensus? Because we're in a lot of leagues. But what's going to help? Or like if player A doesn't go to this team, a guy on your bench is going to shoot up because you're good. Like, what's really going to help you?
What's going to help me the most is because in a lot of my leagues, I'm middle of the road. I've got like either that 5 to 9 pick. Mm-hmm. So I feel that if Spiller goes to Seattle, I'm going to take that next step into the upper echelon competing for a title, because a lot of the teams in front of me in at least 3 of these leagues are very quarterback and wide receiver dependent.
Yeah.
So I think that somebody like Spiller landing in a good situation where I need a running back and it's where you could start 3 running backs plus a flex, I think is going to be huge for me if I can land Spiller in that 5 to 9 range.
Okay, that's fair. For me, let's talk about the league that we're in together. The league where I am your king. Sorry, current champion, reigning champion. Sorry, my bad. I forget the wordage on there. But I have 3 first-round picks. I have 3 first-round picks, right? So for me, I'm loaded at running back. So the benefit for me is I want the top 3 to 4 running backs in this NFL draft to land in the most ideal spots in the NFL. I want them all to go to Buffalo, Houston, Atlanta, Philly. I want them, I want them there. Maybe New Orleans as like the number 2 behind Kamara will he suspended. That's where I want them. I want White, Spiller, Walker, and Hall to go to the best landing spots so the wide receivers can get pushed down for me and I can benefit here with picks. I got picks 7, 11, and 12. I can really reap the benefits here and get those. And trust me, I would love to just move up and get 1-1, but the guy in our league says, I'm not moving 1-1, even though I've offered him tremendous things. Oh my God.
King's ransom.
I offered him, I mean, some people might disagree with this, but like say it's not good, but I offered him like Dalvin Cook for 1-1 straight up. Like I was like, take Dalvin Cook, I'll take 1-1. I want to take the risk. I was like, here, I'll give you 1-7 and 1-11 for 1-1. He said no, like nothing. He won't even talk about it because he never gets to draft 1-1. So he wants to have fun with it. I'm just like, do you want to be here again? Like, isn't that the whole point of this? Like, I'm really struggling. We're not on venting. We already vented. We vented a couple weeks ago. But that's a move that will help me win big in our league and continue to stay high. Is the running backs all land in great spots, and I can reap the benefits of this deep wide receiver class with multiple draft picks. Yeah, and there we go. And that is it. That's our episode. Short episode. Enjoy the draft. This is dropping today. We're recording this today. Breaking the fourth wall Wednesday, and it's already out Wednesday. It's already out. So let us know down in the comments. Like I said at the top of the show, we post 5 to 7 questions for you guys here. Let us know your things on all those. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Give us your answers. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're on Instagram or TikTok as well, follow us there, comment down below. And yeah, be ready because next week, we're actually going to do our first ever mock draft. We said it a couple weeks ago. We pushed it back. We're going to do our first 12-team Superflex mock draft, post-NFL draft for our rookie draft here. So I am Tyler Lauder. He's Jason Teasley. That's it for us this week. All right, we'll see you nerds later.